Here are some ways for men to not get a second date with a woman. Before I met my partner, I tried online dating, but not very seriously. Now that I look back, I realize I wasn't ready to meet someone at the time. I had just gotten divorced and my whole life was in chaos, but I hadn't been on the market in 14 years and was curious to see what I'd find. I'll tell you, it can get pretty messy out there. If you want to find love or are open to it, make sure you don't make these first date mistakes by accident. But if you don't want to see her again and can't just tell her, which I think is always the best thing to do, here's how to make sure she never wants to see you again. 1. Her nag. This is a big red flag for any woman who feels safe and sure of herself. If you need to put her down to get closer to her or to make yourself feel like you can handle spending time with her, you are far too anxious to be her partner. A smart woman will notice this right away and end the relationship. 2. Don't be negative. Hey, I'm all for jokes that make fun of yourself, but guys, when you put yourself down, it looks like you're not confident in yourself. It sounds like you want her to always be your biggest fan before she's even gotten to know you. That's a lot of stress to put on someone you don't know. 3. Talk about yourself and how you'd answer questions you've asked her about herself. When I was online talking with one guy, we talked about string theory, quantum physics, and possibilities. It was a very interesting conversation that blew my mind. I was curious about how our talk would go when we met in person. He started talking about the same things we had been talking about before. He asked me what I thought about lucid dreaming, then cut me off to tell me about his most recent lucid dream. He then moved on to a story about meditation. He asked me if I meditated, but before I could answer, he started telling me about some of his recent trips. After 38 minutes of him asking me a question and then talking over me before I could finish my answer, he stopped talking and asked me what I thought. I wanted to say, I think you're your most interesting date, and it doesn't matter who you're with, but I didn't. I did, however, tell him that my dog was at home, and I had to go let her out. As we left the bar, he told me he was disappointed that the date didn't go as well as he'd hoped. And he didn't know why, because I was more beautiful in person than in my photos, as if that was the only thing that counted. 4. Give her praise behind her back. See the last line above for an idea of what this might look like. Backhanded praises are almost as bad as being mean to her. If it's just a bad word choice, fix it. We all have trouble with our words now and then. A simple, sincere, and direct praise goes a long way. 5. Give her compliments so often and so much that she feels like an object. We all want to feel beautiful to the person we're dating, but there's a big difference between feeling like they want us and feeling like they're just adding us to their collection. Gentlemen, real praise or 2 will do. Bonus points times 3 if it has nothing to do with how she looks. Find out what she likes to do and say something nice about it. Or don't, since this is an introduction to how to lose a second date. 6. Don't ask her any personal questions. When we're getting to know someone, we want to feel like they're interested in who we are, not just how we look. On a first date, nerves are high, but asking her questions shows that you're interested in her. One of the best things to ask on a first date is, what makes you ecstatically happy? Also, good or silly questions that are meant to find out not just what she thinks but also how she thinks. What ability would you choose and why? 7. Ask her so many questions that she feels like she's being interviewed for a job. I once heard what I thought was a job interview, but it was at 8 p.m., which seemed strange to me. The guy kept asking questions as if he had a stack of note cards in front of him, and he barely stopped to listen to what she had to say. I didn't like it when he started asking his date about her life goals, her past relationships, and how many kids she would like to have someday. Hey, I'm not judging. Maybe that was a good way for them to get along, but first dates are usually a time to keep things light and fun. Save the tough questions for later in the relationship, and even then, don't ask them all at once. Instead, ask a few of them here and there. Let the talk flow on that first date. 8. Don't look at her, and instead keep looking around the room. This says, I'm not interested. If you're not interested, that's fine. Just tell us that while you value our time, you don't feel a connection. And then let us go so we can go see our friends or go home to our dog, Cozy Pants, and Ted Lasso Marathon. Either is better than spending time with someone who is not happy to be there. 9. Make out with the waitress or another woman right in front of her. This is a very rude thing to do. If you're with her, you should be with her. Tell her if you're not interested. Trust me, we'll be fine. You can tell us you're not interested without being rude or trying to pick up someone else right in front of us. Also, don't use the fact that you're a nice person as an excuse. I have a warm, bubbly personality, and even though I think of myself as friendly, I know that sometimes it comes off as flirty. But if you like your date, you should save the attention and flirty moves for her. 10. Make fun of her interests, loves, or hobbies. Everyone has something that makes them different from everyone else. You don't have to like what she likes. But we get worried when someone makes fun of us or ignores what we love to do. So, you don't know what rock climbing is? Instead of making fun of the time she spends scouting ways up the rock face, ask her how she got into it or what she likes about it. Hey, maybe she'll ask you out on another date, and you'll find something you're interested in. 11. Change the place of your meeting several times at the last minute, and then blame her for making things confusing. This did happen. It was a bit of a last-minute meeting since I was planning to go to a friend's birthday party later that day and then walk my dog in the sun. When I told him I didn't know where the park was, he said, "I'll meet you at the bottom of the stairs to the park." I agreed, so I looked up the name of the park and steps on Google. I got an address, so I went there to wait. They waited. He sent me a message telling me I was at the wrong stairs and that I should walk inside the park and around the east pond to the other side. He sent a picture of himself looking up a long set of stairs. I told him I had never been to this park before, and he said, "Just walk around. You can't miss it." I did, and after 10 minutes I found the steps he had taken a picture of. I went to the bottom and waited for him again, sending him a picture of the stairs taken from almost the same spot where he had taken the picture. He wrote back that he had gone up the stairs and to the other side of the west pond because I was taking so long, and he told me to go up the stairs and wait again. At this point, I was angry and running out of time, so I told him I had to go to the party and thanked him for the park tour. Don't do this, guys. If you're not sure where to meet her, offer to go find her. 12. Insist on picking her up in your car, and then have a bunch of car baggage all over the place. In general, it's important to keep clean. Try to clean up your car, yourself, etc., if you want to make a good first impression. Even though my car can get cluttered, if I'm getting someone up and want to make a good first impression, I'll clean it out before I go get them. I once agreed to go out with a guy who had so much trash, crumpled McDonald's wrappers, empty Lay's potato chips bags, gas station receipts, etc., that I probably should have seen it for what it was, sloppiness. Also, who would pick plain Lay's potato chips when there are Doritos? 13. Think of the date as a boat race, and try to drink more soda water than she does. When I was in college, there was a drinking game called Boat Race. 2 teams of people would line up and try to drink their beer as quickly as they could. The next person on the team couldn't start drinking until the person before them had finished and turned their cup upside down. I went on a date with a guy who drank 3 drinks in 45 minutes while I was still sipping my soda water. When I pulled out my credit card to pay for my soda so I could leave, he told me that independent women could pay half the price. In hindsight, I think he was just trying to get me to pay for his drinking problem, but it was a cheap lesson. Be calm on a first date. 14. Keep talking about your ex-girlfriend and how all the women you've dated are crazy killers. We know that your last relationship hurt you, and we're sorry. Everyone has scars. But when someone goes on and on about their ex, or exes, We think they aren't over her yet and still need to work through things. If you go out of your way to tell us how crazy all of your exes are, we usually just think that since you're the one thing they all have in common, you're the wild card. Either you don't choose women who are good for you, or you play them for fools until they go crazy. We don't want anything to do with that, no matter what. 15. Get too close before you've both shown interest and agreed to it. We know it's not all guys, though. But almost all of us have had enough bad luck to know that enough is enough and that we should always be aware of our surroundings and the vibe we give off. Please, please, please don't try to speed up or force sexual closeness before getting permission to do so. If you want to kiss someone, look them in the eyes first. Maybe look at her mouth and then back at her eyes. Then again, her lips. Check to see if she likes you back. Move about 80% of the way there, and then let her catch up. There's something very attractive about a man who is sure of himself enough to let her know he likes her but has enough self-control to hold back a little.